Hi there. If you're a parent or a teacher or both trying to support a bilingual or multilingual child, especially one who's struggling with their speech and language, this video is for you. My name is Varsha and I'm a speech and language therapist based in London. And I've worked with children and families for over 20 years, including nearly 10 years at Great Ormond Street Hospital. And something I get asked all the time is, should we stop speaking our home language? Is my child confused because we speak more than one language? Is this delay caused by bilingualism or multilingualism? These are big, real questions. And in this video, we're going to gently bust some myths around language development for bilingual and multilingual children, answer questions parents ask me all the time, especially when their child's language development isn't where they would expect it to be, share everyday practical strategies, and talk about how we can help bilingual and multilingual children thrive in all of their languages. Let's start with the big one. Does speaking more than one language cause speech and language delay or confusion? The answer is a clear and confident no. Speaking more than one language does not cause language difficulties. Children all over the world grow up bilingual or multilingual, and most of them develop language perfectly well, just like monolingual children. If a child has a genuine speech and language difficulty, you'll see it in all their languages, not just one. So if someone ever said to you, maybe stop using your home language, just focus on English, I want you to know that advice is not supported by research or clinical best practice. Now let's talk about home languages. When we talk about bilingual kids, we're usually talking about children who speak one language at home, maybe Punjabi, Polish, Somali, Urdu, Spanish, Arabic, and then hear English at nursery or school. A multilingual home might speak more than one language at home. For example, one parent speaks Italian, another speaks Spanish, and maybe a sibling that predominantly speaks English. Sometimes families worry that using the home language will confuse the child or hold them back. But the truth is, your home language is a gift. It's how your child connects with you. It's how you pass on culture, stories, traditions, humour, and love. And if you're more confident in your home language than in English, you'll be able to give your child richer language input in that language, more vocabulary, more grammar, more emotional connection, and that's incredibly important for brain development and communication skills in general. So please don't stop using your language at home. Even if your child is struggling with talking, they still need to hear language in the way that feels most natural and connected with you. So how can you support a bilingual or multilingual child with speech and language difficulties? Here are a few golden rules. Use all the language your child hears regularly. If your child is exposed to 2 or more languages, it's important to support all of them, even if you can't give equal exposure. What we don't want is for children to lose a home language just because they're struggling. That can really affect their identity and relationships, especially with grandparents or extended family. It's okay to mix languages. You might use English and your home language in the same sentence. That's called code switching. And it's completely normal in bilingual or multilingual families. It's not a sign of confusion. I used to do this as a child and I still do this as an adult when speaking Gujarati with my parents or parents-in-law. Use the language you're most comfortable in. Don't feel pressure to speak English at home if it's not your strongest language. Children learn best from rich, fluent, natural input, and that's usually your first language. If you're a teacher, Senko, or practitioner working with a bilingual child, here are some key things to keep in mind. Don't assume English only is best. Children learn best when their full language background is supported. Use visuals, gestures, and routines. These help all children, but especially those learning more than one language. Be curious about the child's home language. Ask parents what the child understands and says in each language. Delays must be present across languages to count as a difficulty. A child struggling only in English may just need more exposure. And to both parents and schools, share information. It helps everyone work together to support the child's progress. I just want to pause and speak directly to the parents watching this. Because if you've made it this far in the video, there's a good chance you're here because you're worried. Maybe your child isn't talking as much as other children. Maybe they're mixing languages or finding it hard to express themselves. Maybe someone suggested they might have a speech or language difficulty. And on top of that, they're growing up in a bilingual or multilingual home, which can make everything feel even more complicated. So I want to talk gently through some of the most common worries that I hear from parents and hopefully ease some of that anxiety. Is my child confused because we speak more than one language at home? No, speaking more than one language does not cause confusion. It's completely normal for children to hear and use more than one language, and it doesn't overwhelm them. In fact, their brains are beautifully wired to handle it. Should we just speak English to help them catch up? I know why this comes up. Sometimes professionals or even friends and family suggest dropping the home language to make things simpler. But actually, the best thing you can do is to speak to your child in the language you're most confident in. That's where you'll give them the richest vocabulary, the most natural grammar, and the strongest connection. When you speak your home language, whether it's Urdu, Spanish, Gujarati, Tamil, Polish, Bengali, Arabic, you're giving your child a strong foundation. And that supports all their language learning, including English. Is this a delay or just part of learning two languages? It can be hard to tell, and you're not the only one wondering that. Some bilingual or multilingual children do take a little longer to start talking. That can be perfectly normal, especially if they're hearing different languages in different places. But if your child is struggling to understand or express themselves in both languages, not just one, that's when it's worth getting support. They understand everything, but they don't talk. Is that okay? Yes, that can be okay, especially in the early years or in new environments. Bilingual or multilingual kids often go through a silent period when they're building confidence in a new language. They might understand a lot before they're ready to speak. But if that silence goes on for a long time, or if they're not understanding either language well, that's a good time to get support. What can I do at home to help? This is the question I love the most because it tells me you're already doing something powerful. You care. And honestly, you don't need flashcards, special toys, or fancy apps. You need connection. Talk to your child. Play with them. Repeat words. Follow their interests, even if it means chatting about cars, spoons, bubbles, or hoovers all day. That's how language grows. So what can parents actually do at home? Here are some practical tips, and these apply whether your child is bilingual or multilingual or not, but they're especially helpful when they're learning more than one language. Take interest and comment. You don't need to narrate your day, but comment on what your child is doing, whichever language you feel most comfortable in. Name what your child is looking at. Describe what your child is doing. If your child isn't using words yet, just use one or two words to comment on what is happening in your own language. If they are saying two words, you can add a word. The more you talk about what your child sees and what they are doing, the more they connect words with the objects and actions, building their understanding. Follow their lead. If they're looking at a car, talk about the car. If they're holding a toy, name it, describe it, make it do something. We want to keep communication fun and meaningful. You don't need fancy toys. Some of the best learning happens with the things you already have at home. Whatever your child is interested in, that's where the language happens. Follow their lead and repeat the key words again and again in a natural way. Use books, songs, and routines. Repetition is so powerful. Books and songs are great for building vocabulary and sentence structure. If you can find books in your home language, brilliant. If not, use picture books and tell the story in your own words. Be patient with mixing and delays. It's completely normal for bilingual and multilingual children to mix words from different languages, especially when they're young or when one word is easier to access than the other. It's also okay if they start talking a little later. That's not always a sign of a problem. But if they're really struggling to understand or express themselves in any language, that's when we want to get support. Let's quickly sum up what we've covered today. Speaking more than one language does not cause speech and language delay. That's a myth. Don't drop your home language. It's a strength, not a problem. Keep using it with your child. Language difficulties will show up in all languages, not just one. Children mix languages sometimes, and that's totally normal. It's called code switching, and it's a natural part of being bilingual. You don't need special toys or apps. Everyday things can all be amazing for language learning. Follow your child's lead. The quality of interaction matters more than the language you use. Parents and teachers need to work together. Share information about the child's full language background and keep the focus on connection, not correction. If you're feeling unsure or overwhelmed, that's okay. It means you're trying to give your child what they need. Raising a child with speech and language needs can be challenging. Doing that across more than one language, that takes even more care and thought. But I promise, your language, your culture, your connection with your child are not the problem. They're part of the solution. So keep talking, keep playing, keep connecting, keep loving them in the language that feels like home. And if you ever need support, reach out to your GP, health visitor, nursery or school Senko, or your local speech and language therapy service. Or feel free to ask questions in the comments. I read them and I'll always try to help. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. I've got more videos coming on speech and language development and how to support children with confidence and compassion. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.